Spoiler alert, BDS won the series. So let's break down how they won and what Golden Guardians did wrong. In game number 1, Golden Guardians pick Cassante, Talia, Joan, Kaisa, and Amumu. These 5 champions doesn't make much sense together whatsoever in this game. You have no lockdown for Talia in the solo lanes. You don't have a strong early game skirmisher to fight together with Joan and Cassante. And it's very hard to find opportunities around bot lane because the enemy team has a Sivir who just permanently wave clears. So basically in my mind, when I'm looking at the Golden Guardians composition, I see them ending up with 5 really strong skirmishing champions that really needs to find leads and snowball them, but just because they don't enable each other in any sort of way, they can't sort of skirmish. They can't enable each other to skirmish even. And therefore everything just falls flat. I'll give you an example of what I mean with that they're not enabling each other. So picking a champion like Yone in the mid lane puts a lot of pressure on you to be able to play heavily around mid lane. And like utilizing your support timers from bot lane to move towards mid lane, utilizing a strong mid jungle 2 versus 2 to play fights and contest the waves and play on freezes. And that is not possible in this game because of 2 main factors. Like firstly, Talia is not really strong around mid lane, especially with Joan. Like if you had any CC, any reliable setup for Talia combo, you could look to skirmish around mid lane and try to look to take 2 versus 2s and contest the waves. But you don't have that with Joan. And 2, you almost have no support moves from bot lane, or you have them, but they're very limited because the enemy team has permanent priority in bot lane pretty much. So TLDR, contesting mid lane is very hard, and fighting skirmishes for Golden Guardians is extremely hard. Let's begin the in-game review by looking at how Sheo decided to path in this game and why I think it was smart, but also what I think he should have done differently. So Gori starts off by warding the enemy raptors and spots Mokai. Normally, in these situations, what Gori is used to is that the enemy jungler will do this, raptor camp into golems, into red buff, and then either try to gank through this choke point, which now is warded, or go down into his bot side jungle, or maybe even try to gank through bot side river. So this ward now has given Gori a false sense of security. This false sense of security will make Gori play like normally. He will hover up towards this side, which normally works for him and has worked in like 99% of his games. But what he doesn't know is Sheo doesn't care about what people normally do or what people normally path like. Sheo instead decides to do raptors, red buff, golems, and loop around this whole Baron pit to try to get into a position and punish this Joan. And as we can see, Gori is hovering up towards this side because that's what normally works to him, except for now when Orianna had the ball here. And Sheo walks in here, tries to look for this angle onto Gori. And we will see right now, Gori is hovering up towards this side where he feels safe. And it's a free W flash by Mokai into first blood secured. And now to the second part about the Mokai here, which I think is really nice. Right now, Mokai will do his blue buff, then he will do his Gromp, Wolves, and then his topside camps will be respawning. So he will be able to take his second respawn Raptors and second respawn Golems before basing, meaning he will be able to purchase a Giant's Belt or a Kindle Gem plus boots, depending on what build path he wants to do, which is really nice. The limit for that is you need to clear 8 camps, potentially 7 if you're a bit late or depending on which camps. But this is also the time where I would want Sheo to do something differently. Because so far, right now, if we go back a little bit, just a little bit, right now, Orianna uses a sweeper plant. We spot Talia up here and we spot Talia ward. Additionally to this information, we have seen Joan the whole time in mid lane, and he has not gone to ward. He's been playing on the wave constantly, he's not gone to ward, and he's trading. What I would like to do here as Sheo is to walk all the way around here, get into a position, and look to trade onto the Joan. Not kill, because he has flash. We're not going to kill him. But what I would want to do is to chunk him out. I want to commit my tempo to hit him, to get him so low that the laning phase becomes very hard for him. Because what he's doing right now is not going to be possible if he's low health. Because then Orianna can maybe find lethal threshold, and the trades will hurt him more than Orianna because he is lower on health. And additionally, when the wave is pushing in like this, and Yone can't play up and can't push the wave, that means Orianna can set up a freeze. And that requires a lot of tension from the enemy team, which would put us in a very beneficial position. Imagine right now Mocha is here. And we're looking to go on this. And we're able to chunk this guy out. Right now, for example. Right now. Let's say we went on him. We'll take him down to maybe 400 health. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe 300 even. 300 health probably. He will go down to 300 health. This wave, Orianna can take one step forward, or the wave will maybe even aggro us if we go on him, which means this wave state will end up in a position like this, and we can pull a freeze. And then the argument that people can use against this is, no, Mocha needs to clear his camps and base as fast as possible to not fuck up his tempo. But by doing this, we will create pressure. We will create pressure and force our opponents to commit their move and their tempo to responding to mid lane to try to break this freeze. And when they have used their turn, that means that when Mocha is back onto the map, he's up in tempo all of a sudden, because the enemy team needs to use their tempo to fix a situation that Mocha used his tempo to create. And this is sort of something that I don't see being used enough in modern League of Legends. I don't see junglers ever, when they're sort of on the end of their stay on the map, end of their tempo, trying to just look to chunk out somebody in a position like this. Sure, we might not kill somebody, we might not get a summoner spell, but if the laning phase or the matchup is in a position where one person needs to contest and the other person doesn't, chunking out the one who needs to contest is very, very, very good. Like, you can think of like Yasuo's, you can think about Jace's in the mid lane that needs to go forward and need to contest. And that's sort of what I would want Shio to do in this situation. We're a bit later into the game now, but this is a very good example of what I just talked about, the previous example that I presented. So right now, the wave is pushing into Orianna. Shio is around here fishing, trying to look for something. And Corey does what most young players will do, goes forward, because that's how you play this champion, that's how you play the laning phase. You play forward, you trade a lot. But now Shio is here, and he's here to chunk him out. Because right now this is a spectator bug, as we can see. Yone has flash, Yone has ult. So we're most likely not going to kill Yone here, but we get to chunk him out, just like I talked about in the previous example. Maybe we get to kill him, and that's maybe why he's going here, maybe not thinking about chunking him, maybe thinking more about killing, but the idea to just chunk is enough. And that's what we end up doing. We end up chunking him a lot, he becomes a lot lower. So right now, the wave is in a very awkward position, Yone is down a lot more health. So right now, Orianna can wait here, pull a freeze, and that requires a lot of attention from the rest of the enemy team. But Corey here, without River being able to help for some apparent reason, wanting to clear the ward maybe, decides to walk up. And what can Orianna do then? Orianna can pop her cookies, get some mana, and just finishing him off. And this because we chunked him earlier. A similar situation could have happened if Mocha did it in the previous example, went here instead of doing Raptors, or even after doing Raptors, could be a bit late if he did that, and chunked him out. We would have a very similar situation. But at the same time as this is happening, another very cool thing is happening that I would like to point out. I don't know if this is intentional or being communicated, but right now we crash the wave on top lane, and we get a move from top lane, and Adam starts to move down into mid lane. At the same time, Rakan is moving down from bot lane. They crash the wave in bot lane, and Rakan is getting his move. So right now we have double move from sides, and we're ready to contest around mid. We're ready to fight anything around mid lane, because we're creating numbers advantages, and we're putting ourselves in a very strong position. And I know Adam is getting a lot of shit for randomly deciding to roam around the map and just wasting his time, but this is, if this was communicated and this was a planned thing. It was extremely well executed, and we end up finding the kill onto the Thalia here because of it. This was a very, very, very good window from BDS that was really impressive to see. Okay, now Herald is spawning, and we see that Golden Guardians, they have the first move from bot lane, and they're already here to start it on spawn. Important to keep in mind right now is we see Shio is still only level 5, so they really want to speed up the situation so he can get level 6 before they're trying to contest. Additionally, right now, Renekton has just used his ult in top lane to crash a wave and trade with the Cassante. So what I really like about what BDS did here in this situation is that they were patient. As soon as they hit level 6 and the enemy team started to rotate down into bot lane again to respond to the Sivir hitting the turret, they go straight in. And of course it's a bit lucky that they end up actually stealing the Herald as well, or well played from Shio, from flash queuing smiting and bursting it. But this idea was not to go here to take the Herald. I can assure you of that. Their idea right now is, okay, we are not level 6 on Mokai, we do not have Renekton ult, we're probably not in a good position to contest this right now. But what we can do is we can take the fight afterwards. So they're a bit behind in tempo, they're a bit slow to get in level 6, but once they get it, they pull the triggers and they hard commit into this area, and hard commit on the enemies. They end up getting the Herald and 2 kills, and at this point of the game, right now, we have a very significant goal lead, and I feel like the game is pretty much over at this point. If BDS keep on playing like they have done, and they play the game out cleanly, it's over at this point. Now we're getting into the last situation of the game that I would like to go over. Right here, we have a Golden Guardians that got the first priority from the bot side and entered into river. They find the time to retake control and also find Shio, who was being a bit too cocky and stepping up in a situation like this. They end up finding a pick onto him, but very important to keep in mind here, as Golden Guardians, you do not want to prolong this situation. You are very behind right now. It's 22.6k gold versus 18.4. You're extremely behind. You're not in a very good position, especially if you use your ultimates and commit your ultimates to kill one target. If you prolong this fight now, in this area, you will get pincered from 2 areas, and you will not have ultimates to fight against the other very fed members of BDS. So you need to have the restraints, you need to have the self-control, and not let the emotions and adrenaline take over in a situation like this. You feel like you are on top of the world, you're making the comeback when you find this pick onto Mokai, but you need to restrain yourself from keep on going forward and keep on pushing. You need to sort of back off and maybe commit onto one flank, commit onto this flank, or back off to try to avoid any sort of angle where you're getting collapsed on and you're getting wiped. Because this is a very good thing, but you have to be happy with the small victories. They end up being collapsed on, they're all committing into the choke point, and they end up almost getting wiped here. Additionally, Cassante dies in top lane for cancelling the Renekton teleport. We die in mid lane, Thalia gets out, and on the respawn right now, we will be able to get the dragon as well. And after this point, BDS just keep on cleanly pushing the game forward and ends the game at 20 minutes.